It was 12. Duck was taking his last train for the night. It was a small goods train, a couple of cars. None of them were in good condition. Duck, in an attempt to keep to time, decided to speed to make it up Gordon's Hill. And, by some miracle, this worked. I know it ain't right, but you gotta do what you gotta do. As Duck crested the hill, his driver noticed a burning smell. The smell of burning wood. The fireman looked back to see not only a hot box, but the third truck down had caught fire. And worse yet, the rest of the train started pushing Duck down the hill. "What in the hell? Oi, you lot, quit it!" Despite Duck's pleas, the truck surged on, and with one good bump, the fireman landed straight upon the gravel. Duck desperately radioed in to Sean. "Alright, Sean, we got a hot box, and our fireman's just been knocked out of the cabin. We need brakes now." "Duck, I'm missing an entire front axle on my brake van. My brakes are no good." "Damn it! Alright, Anthony, where are those brakes? Where are my brakes, actually?" No matter how hard Duck's driver fought with the controls, he couldn't seem to unjam Duck's brakes. And worse yet, the throttle was jammed as well. With every wheel turn, the train grew faster and faster. With every minute, Duck began to panic more and more, until finally his cab exploded in a fiery ball of glory. With no one tending to the fire, the draft had been ungodly, until it finally came up so large that it blew the driver right out of the cabin. Now Duck was on his own, he and Sean and the rest of his burning train. At some point in the chaos and the terror, Duck had a moment of clarity. He was able to think, to manage whatever the hell he was doing. Duck knew he had to stop before the freight station. Otherwise, he would enter a public station, and that would never end well. But he only knew one way he could stop this train now, and it wasn't going to be pretty. The only power the train had left was Duck and its reverser, and it was up to him to stop that damn train. As Duck flung on his reverser, the fire in his firebox raged, with enough power to reach the coal and set the whole bunker alight. As Duck finally entered the freight station, his weight heaved on the cars, and finally, with one good blow, a truck shattered into millions of splinters of wood and fire. The rest of the train followed suit in a ball of fury and anger. The brake van ripped in two as splinters and cinders showered the yards. In a powerful ball of fire and pain. Despite Duck's efforts to stop the train, he was thrown from the rails, through a cafe, and into a pond behind it, as fire, death, and wood surrounded the pannier. Anyone who didn't know any better would have thought a bomb had gone off in Duck's train. Meanwhile, Stanley, who had been stationed at Marin for shunting, up until 2 minutes ago, when Duck's train exploded, had decided to call local authorities. Not that everybody on the island didn't know. It was a matter of half an hour before everyone was in a stir. Engines even from the Farquhar branch came down. Toby and Percy got every crane they could find, while Edward looked for volunteers, and Stanley and Mavis looked for empty trucks. Thomas decided if it was Duck, it wasn't worth it. As they lifted the brake van from the wreckage, a horrifying smell wafted through the air. Fresh blood. There, in the middle of the rubble, lay the bloody and bruised remains of a purple-haired brakeman. Sean Winters lay dead in whatever remained of his brake van. He had been impaled by the remains of a truck. It was 3:30 by the time they pulled Duck out of the wreckage, unconscious. The moment they saw him, paramedics and mechanics came to Duck's aid. There was a piece of glass lodged in his cheek. A black eye, burns around his tanks, his bunker practically melted off. But he was alive. They hoisted him onto a flatbed and Stanley took him away to the works. Duck began to regain consciousness. Sham. Where's Sham? Where's Stanley? Where's Sham? Buddy, I don't think I have the right to tell you that, and I don't think that's quite your biggest concern right now. No, he is my brakeman. My life is in his hands, as is his and mine. I'm a Great Western engine. I can't break that promise. Yeah, well, the GWR sure as hell broke a lot of promises to us. Duck, did you know I was a GWR engine? I didn't even know you were owned before Sodor. Suddenly, Stanley's comm started flaring up. Stanley, could you find us another crane? One of ours just tipped over after hitting a piece of debris in the switch. Yeah, that's no problem once I drop Duck off, but you have other cranes. Can't you just re-rail that one? These cranes are cheap as all hell. The arm snapped like a goddamn twig. Well, Percy, maybe this will persuade Richard to not be such a cheap ass. And to maybe buy better stock. Yeah, I'm getting real sick of him. Well, I guess we'll be on the lookout for a crane. Just then, Duck spoke out. Stanley, why do you continue on? What drives you to keep just living? I guess it's just making sure folks don't suffer the same way I suffered. What do you mean, suffering? Duck, I don't know that you know this, but the Great Western did a lot of shady crap. And I mean, like, a lot. Duck, I was practically worked to death by the Great Western. The Great Western would never do that. It's improper. They wouldn't. No. They make sure all their engines are in good shape. They wouldn't do that. And yet they did, Duck. They hurt me. A lot, actually. They thought I was beyond repair when the Great Western was done with me. They sent me one of two places, either here or scrap. Same thing they did with all their engines. The same reason you're still here. Duck didn't say anything, but Stanley knew he was contemplating his decisions. The rest of the night was quiet. It'd be a long ride home.